Hi guys, I drew something recently that I'm like, oh, maybe I am getting better. And I want to share what I've done in the last 9 months to go from drawing this in February to drawing this just a couple days ago. Here are 3 things that will make you improve your drawing from imagination so quickly. The number one exercise that got me to understand form and be able to manipulate it so freely to go from drawing like this to drawing like this, rotating basic forms. That's why check out my previous video about the cube, because it's all about the cube. And just as a quick demonstration here, right beside this page, you can see how I think about the cube in every single thing that I'm drawing. So these are pigs drawn from imagination, studied from this pig. So I studied this pig a few times, and then I was able to draw from imagination. But as I'm going back in these, I'll show you some of the exercises I've been doing. You'll see that things always relate to the cube. So manipulating basic forms was a huge element of my growth. Stuff like this, for example. Now this looks like a whole hodgepodge of nothing, and it is. We're not trying to draw anything here. We're trying to get comfortable combining volumes in space in a way that is, it's not about what we're drawing, it's about how much we're thinking about forms and their place in space. And you can see as we develop these forms, they end up looking like this could be a dog head, and this is the shape of a dog. And just practicing these basic volumes is the number one exercise that has freed up my ability to draw from imagination. I say that without any exaggeration. That's why I'm so huge on the box. That's why I'm so huge on artists like Peter Hahn. We're talking about dynamic sketching and thinking in basic volumes. That's why I'm so huge on you guys joining me for the ROM on Saturdays. If you live in the Greater Toronto area, come 12 to 5 on Saturdays, and you can learn how to draw vases and basic forms for yourself. And you don't need me to be there, but the group is so fun. It's a great community, and let's keep it growing. Anyway, when we go to the museum, what we focus on is thinking about basic volumes and converting them in space. And I'm hammering this home because this is the number one thing that has allowed me to think about the human body in basic cylinders. Boxes, boxes, boxes. And every single human body part is just cylinders and limbs. Every single head is just within a cube. Okay, so that's number one, understanding the basic forms. So in terms of the exercise that you'd want to apply, look into the 5 basic forms. This is covered by Artwad. This is covered by Peter Hahn, but it's about understanding the cylinder, the sphere, the cone, the cube, and the pyramid. And then doing an exercise like this, combining those elements into a believable space. And that brings us to exercise number 2, which is spatial awareness. In order to make a believable image, you need 2 things. You need believable volumes, but then you need to have multiple believable volumes interacting in a believable space. That is how you get a sense of these characters existing, is because I've depicted these forms in a way that it feels like they're all in the same perspective. Now, how do you do that? And same thing here. By having a sense of spatial awareness, you can take your ability to draw one form and multiply it to create a sense of scale and it's not just a picture, it's a story, it's a scene. Because all I'm doing is taking the knowledge of the basic forms and rotating them in space, but understanding perspective and spatial awareness to give this sense of multiplicity, which will make your story feel all that much more alive. Here, it's just basic forms. I've drawn like 20 bowls here, and the reason this looks visually interesting is because I know how the bowls are interacting in space. So, how do you build spatial awareness? Like this. You do observational drawings. There's a reason every artist famous for drawing from imagination, Peter Hahn, Rembert Montald, Kim Jung Gi, there's a reason they have so many drawings just like this, okay? Because As you draw observationally, you build your sense of what objects look like in a believable space. This is how most of your scenes are going to play out. Eye level, at the... We too often draw from this security camera angle or from this low angle, and that's cool for visually impactful stories. But if you want believable senses of space and a normal scene that just feels believable, you need to start from your everyday observation. And not just capturing one segment of the image, but capturing your entire space, because this is where you're going to learn fluid perspective in a way. It's 5-point perspective, but you're learning it based on what you see in real life, not based on theory from 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. That's not how we understand perspective. It comes from our eyes, not from a book on theory. Okay, so as you can see here, it's not always going to look this pretty. It's going to be pretty ugly most of the time. So here, this is my attempt to draw my room in the museum. And as you can see, I messed it up, but I decided to add extra characters around and experiment with this spatial awareness. See, same day I'm drawing, and it's equally bad, right? Here, I drew the museum, but I added one of the group members in space every time they're moving around to get a sense of the floor plane here. So by doing these drawings, you're going to build your ability to create believable space on paper, right? And these are exercises because you want to do them all the time. Anytime you get an opportunity, you're going to build your brain's ability to recall spaces believably and build your sense of innate intuition, innate perspective. And combining that once again with little depictions of volumes in space, combining that with boxes and cylinders, all this reinforces your ability to draw from imagination. So there, you can see this is sort of a brain dump of these exercises. Thinking about cubes rotating, thinking about pigs in space, thinking about the cubes that every character fits within, trying to draw believable cylinders, and they're not always successful. Here, more observational drawing of the sense of space. Here, cubes and dogs. Look, this is barely an observational drawing. There's just a glimpse. I had about 5 minutes to do this. But that results in this. Now, I didn't draw these lines. I drew these lines afterwards for somebody. But that allows you to understand perspective in a way that you can depict it. And then you see these boxes were drawn to fit the perspective and make believable characters. So those two exercises, basic forms and spatial awareness exercises through observational drawing, are the pillars of being able to draw from imagination. So what's the third thing? It is just doing it. I'm not trying to go Shia LaBeouf on you guys, but you don't get better at drawing from imagination if you're not constantly drawing from imagination. So, because your brain is not going to learn how to memorize and retain the information it needs to if you constantly look at reference. So, keep your brain on a low reference diet and it will savor every piece of information it gets, and you'll start training yourself to recall things much better. And you got to draw from imagination all the time. And this is a process that is going to be frustrating, of course. That is the nature of drawing from imagination. You get one try, and it's whatever you draw is the worst it could be because you only had one try. And if you're drawing in ink, which you should, it's going to be the worst it will be and the first and only attempt at it. So get used to the fact that most drawings from imagination are ugly and you don't want to show anybody. I'm going to just go through this sketchbook and you can see look, horrendous. All these drawings are attempts at creating stuff from my imagination. And they rarely land. Only about 1 in 10 imaginative drawings am I proud of, and do they mark a change in my artistic skill. The rest of them are essentially brain vomit. But every time I do this, I get more comfortable with the lines that I'm going to put down. I get more comfortable with the idea that I'm going to fail and it's okay. And you also learn how to roll with the punches. That's drawing from imagination is a skill within itself that you only build by doing it often. So, as Rembert Montald says, just force your will onto the paper. If you're at an impasse where you don't know what to do, just keep going. The only ways you discover what you need to study from reference is by seeing where you don't know how to draw it from imagination. So those are the 3 tips that changed my ability to draw from imagination. No joke. I've seen progress like I wouldn't believe, frankly. And I don't mean to toot my own horn here. If you don't think I've learned, or if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, by all means, I don't. I am in school right now. I am learning, and there are so many fantastic artists to learn from if you're interested in this. Peter Han, Kim Jung Gi, Dong Ho Kim, Rembert Montald, Katsuya Terada, and the likes. But these are practices that have truly helped me, and if they've helped you, I'm happy about that. But it's not free. It's gonna cost you a like and a subscribe, please and thank you. We're trying to get to monetization, baby. If you guys want to know more about drawing from imagination, I literally have a course on theanimationtutor.com in the description. Sign up for that. It's a 4-week course, but it will equip you with all the tools and knowledge you need to start doing this for yourself. And I mean, here's the proof that it works. So hopefully this helped you guys, and if you have any questions or anything else, just let me know. I got free tutoring on Instagram, except it's kind of getting a lot. So message me quickly if you still want slots there. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day and keep learning. See you guys.